What are you waiting for? It's time to take action. It's time to do this. Don't overthink. Hit it strong. It's the Do This Podcast with your host, GP Theriot.
Hey, welcome to Do This Podcast. Stop overthinking, do this. As we like to say here, don't overthink, hit it strong. And I'm excited as always to have you join us our podcast today. And hey, be sure and share this because we want to get the word out and let people know that do this. All right. If you've got an idea and you're sitting on the sideline, we hope this motivates you to take action, to do this. And I am super excited on my guest today. But before we go there, I want to say, hey, Travis, my producer, what's going on?
What's happening, GB? How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. So what do you think of this fall weather?
Oh, man. You know what? I actually enjoy the fall. I like it when it cools off in the city because it gets entirely too hot.
Exactly. This Texas heat. And I can tell you right now, tomorrow's a big day because we got the Texas State Fair opening. So I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. Some good football should be happening, too, in the city on Saturday.
Man, good football. It's just that fun time of season. I call this is when the holiday season starts because, you got the State Fair, fall. Before we know it's going to be Halloween, Thanksgiving, and before we know it's going to be Christmas time.
Absolutely.
But hey, let's get into our guest. I'm excited because this is if you know Allie Beth Real Estate here in Dallas, it is the #1 luxury premier real estate brokerage there is. I've been in the industry, for 19 years, and I just love to see what they continue to do in the community. And today, this is big time, people, that I've got on the show today is the president of Allie Beth Allman, Keith Conlon. Keith?
Hey, GP.
Welcome, my man.
Thank you.
Excited
to be here.
And we've known each other now for what? We're going about 3-4 years?
Yeah, and I remember your name back when you were with Park Seas Mortgage.
That's, man,
we're
we're going back.
All
right. Good stuff. So, man, I'm excited to have you here because I think you definitely fit what this program's about. Besides, the real estate side career, I love your story of, being an athlete. I know you played Division I. I want to hear more about that. And then you've taken, I think, that mentality and you've implemented that into your business. Obviously, why you're at the position you're at today.
Yeah, I think getting a chance to play baseball at TCU and a lot of things led up to where I am today. But I give a lot of credit to my playing days. The coach who recruited me at TCU was a guy named Jim Slossingle, who's now at Texas A&M. He's a phenomenal coach, but he also just instilled a lot about, not only baseball, but life and work ethic into everything you do. And I give him a lot of credit to where I am today professionally.
I love that. And we've talked about this. So with your career in baseball, was baseball something that you played like growing up? Because today it seems like these kids have to pick one sport and stick with it. Was it baseball your whole childhood, or did you play other sports too?
So I played everything growing up. You started out with soccer and basketball and baseball and football, and just our family. My older brother, who was 3 grades above me in high school, he was on the varsity baseball team when I was a freshman in high school, and he was the one who drugged me to the cages and to throw with him in the off season when I was playing football. But my dad was always in love with baseball. My grandfather played semi-pro baseball, so that was kind of always the family love. We had Rangers season tickets from as far back as I can remember to the old stadium, to the old ballpark in Arlington and everything else. So baseball was always a part of our life. Mm-hmm. And then as I got older, made the Highland Park varsity baseball team as a sophomore, and then it was kind of like, okay, probably time to focus on this. I thought I had a chance to play Division I baseball, so that was the route I decided to go.
So what's your opinion? I think in today's society, do you think it's good for kids to play multiple sports? And what's that point where, okay, you need to probably start focusing?
I think growing up, every kid should play multiple sports. I think it's horrible that these kids are focusing on a sport at 7, 8, 9, just because you learn so much about your body and how to, hitting and throwing and, stealing bases. All that quickness from football and basketball and all those other things. And for me, playing baseball year-round wasn't even a thing until I was a sophomore in high school. I just can't imagine having to play baseball year-round because as a kid, it's kind of boring when kids are learning how to pitch. There's a lot of walks. There's just not that action. And I don't think I would have stuck with it. Baseball was not my first love. It was as I got older, but it was my brother's. and older brothers, and he's the one that really made me work harder because he was trying to play college out of high school, so he wanted to stay after and hit. He wanted someone to throw long toss with, and I did all those things with him all the time.
I love it. And so, kid-wise, tell me about your. Do you have boys, daughters?
I've got 3 daughters.
3 daughters.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how old are your daughters?
They are 5, 3, and 8 months.
5, 3. Okay, so you really haven't gotten into the whole sports yet.
We had a soccer game yesterday. My daughter scored her first goal, so that was pretty exciting.
That's awesome.
But, but that was her 3rd soccer game ever. So we're just getting started.
Because I love hearing what you said, though, about, playing all sports. Because I'll be honest, I've got a 9-year-old boy, and he plays everything right now. But, gosh, I feel like, he's a good little athlete, and it's like I get caught up in it, too, thinking, man, he's got to start playing this more year-round.
Right.
And I've got to remember, I love hearing that for reassurance and for everybody out there. I think, because I've heard it from top-notch athletes. I was talking to an NFL football player, and he said the same thing, like, these kids need to be playing everything year-round because, plus, it helps them to adapt.
Yeah, and I mean, at 9 years old, the kid who's the best player now might be the kid who's hit puberty already. Oh, maybe not 9, but as they get older,
Sure.
And then something else. He might become a great golfer, but all that core strength and the technique behind different sports, it's all built into everything he does. So, if you're focusing on baseball at 7 or 8, by the time you get to 12, that might change, but the body's changing, your speed, all the agility and everything else comes from all these other sports. And
Yep.
I played baseball at TCU, but Gary Patterson was known for recruiting different athletes to play different positions, and he would recruit wide receivers to play linebacker and things like that. So I feel like all the different skills, and even if it's the same sport, but just because you're a shortstop right now in baseball doesn't mean you're going to be a shortstop in high school or college or there after that. So
I think I love hearing all that. So that's very encouraging for me as a dad. Like,
Yeah.
you know what? Have fun. That's the
Right.
number one
That's
thing,
exactly
too, is just
right.
have fun. So, okay, I got a real important question. So do you think the Rangers will ever win a World Series in our lifetime?
I do. Chris Young, who is a Highland Park graduate.
That's right, yeah.
State championship winner, last state championship at Highland Park. He was brother's age. His sister is our sales manager, and we have complete faith that Chris will turn this thing around and bring a title home.
Awesome.
To
I
Arlington,
love
to
hearing
the
that.
Texas Rangers.
Because I was at Game 6 in St. Louis when I thought we were going to see I know. We won't even go there. That's a
Let's
whole
not
nother
let's not
episode.
talk about
yeah,
Nelly
we can talk
Cruz.
about that. Okay, so we kind of go all directions. So we're talking about your athletic career, and we didn't even ask, what position did you play?
I was a center fielder.
So that means you were pretty fast.
I could run a little bit back in the day.
Yeah, that's awesome. So did you try to pursue the professional level after college?
So drafted by the San Diego Padres in the 14th round, had a short-lived minor league career, but did have an opportunity. Was able to earn a degree before being drafted. So, checked those boxes, and then just the minor league career didn't work out, progressed like I wanted to. So, fell into real estate.
Okay, so let's transition that, because I remember when we visited before, you had said something about, you could have kept going and going, because there's a lot of guys that just go until hoping that they're going to make it to the majors one day.
Right.
And I thought it was so smart of you. You realize, like, look, I'm this certain age, and if I want to start a new career, this is probably the time to get out. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
So I was with the Padres organization. I was at spring training, and that was 2008. And I talked to the guy who drafted me, a guy named Grady Fuson, and just told him, where they were going to send me back to where I had finished the last year. And he said, "You're probably a good 4 to 5 years away from being major league ready." I was 25 years old, and you look at what's crazy is guys who are making it at that age or even before. So I'm like, okay, that puts me at 29, 30. If I truly make it, just because you make it to the big leagues, you could be there a day, 2 weeks. Some guys get called up and they never get sent down until they retire, but those guys are few and far between. So kind of looked at it as, I've had a great run, looking back and looking at goals. The goal was to get drafted. I think if I had said the goal is to be a 10-year major league veteran, that should have been the goal, but you only know what you know.
Right.
And for me, it was just like, okay, this is a good time to transition. The only problem was when I decided to give up baseball, it was the recession, and so I had to kind of.
So what year was
adjust.
that?
2008.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So family business is commercial. Got into. My dad was the one who told me to go get your real estate license, and then kind of just fell into residential and started selling houses.
Okay.
So,
Well, let's jump in that. I mean, I love the fact how you got in 2008, right during probably the worst time
the worst time.
possible. Yep.
Yes, I would say that's accurate.
And most people probably would have just thrown in the towel, and you probably would have found a different career. So what kept you kind of fighting through or pursuing real estate?
Yeah, so I remember doing at the time was a fairly big lease and then selling a house in the first 4 months and having a decent year. I think in the first 7 months I was in it, I did about $3 million in sales and made pretty decent money. I was thinking, okay, if I can be what I thought in my mind successful this year, then once this thing turns or gets even a little bit better, and then if it becomes great again, then I'll be highly successful. So it was never a thought of quitting or anything like that. It was just, how do I build off what I did and just continue to make it better?
So I love that because we're kind of going through that right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
I'm seeing it right now in the mortgage side, real estate side, where agents I've got agents reaching out to me right now that are frustrated, right?
Right.
And I truly believe one or two things are going to happen. Either people are going to sit back and hope that they can just get through this and do nothing, and then they're way behind and they're not going to make any money.
Right.
Or two, this is the best opportunity to take action and get market share. But yeah, you're gonna have to work a little bit harder. So what are your feelings on that?
Yeah, I think that's perfectly said. I mean, I've talked about it at our sales meeting. There's people who've never had any adversity in this business. They got their license and after 2012, and it's been
good.
It's been going straight up for 10 years, and life has been great, and they're making great money, and they've had success, and they haven't had to, I would say, work extremely hard to find clients. They've come to them, or everyone's looking for a house, everyone's moving to Dallas, and now you hit some adversity, and it's like you said, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit back and complain and just say, hey, this is terrible and it's slow? But even when we compare things from our parent company, everything's compared to 2019. Well, when I look at 2019 compared to today, we're 42% higher. So, I mean, even back when we thought we were doing great in 2019, we're absolutely crushing it compared to then. So now it's like, okay, yeah, the last 2 to 3 weeks have been the first time where I feel like I haven't been as busy as I've been in a long time. So, but it's okay, what can we do to improve on the office? How can we make some changes? How can we coach up the agents? But it's to keep them motivated and hungry. And just this is a bump in the road, but it's really not a bump in the road. And I told a story at our sales meeting the other day. A guy that I knew in 2010, I was looking for his email because we have our 20-year high school reunion coming up, and I found it, and he was buying a house in Lakewood. The average days in 2010 for the 4 houses he was looking at in Lakewood is 176 days on market.
Yep.
And we have agents now complaining about not selling a house in the first 20 days or first week.
First week,
and they're like, a house hasn't sold. I'm like, it's been 7 days, you know?
Right.
So, and I was thinking back then in 2010, I was like, 180 days, it's not a big deal, but that would make people go insane right now. They wouldn't know what to do.
So I love sharing this. So for the past 2 years, I called it unicorn years, especially on the mortgage side. Rates were all-time low. I called them artificial rates. I mean, they were the lowest because the government was holding them down. But also, I mean, we're shifting back to the normal. And I think that's okay, where, I mean, we have to adapt. And I love what you just said is like, we're such short mind lived, right? And we have to realize, like, look at the long term, your goals, and just stick to it. But people just want to like throw in the towel right away. I think so. Yeah,
I mean, that's what it's funny you say unicorn. 2021 will always be the year. Remember in 2021 how great things were, and it was I mean, every month we set a record month. So January was the best January we ever had, and everything else. August of 2022 that was the best August we've ever had. So we actually broke that trend this year, which seems odd because September is going to be a down month compared to last year in September, but it's going to be 25% above September of 2019. So you look at it and you're like, okay, it seems quiet, but going back to the last 2 unicorn years, it's still a phenomenal month. But all I keep hearing from the agents is like, it is dead out there. Nothing is going on. And it's like, it's all relative. And I think that's where baseball comes in, is that, back in college and pro, like, you failed 7 out of 10 times, I was a successful hitter. So when I hear it's dead for 2 or 3 weeks, it's like, it's really not that bad.
You're absolutely right. And I think the key to all this is there's so much negativity out there, the loom and gloom. And that's where leaders like you, myself, where we have to educate. Yeah, we have to step up our game. It's no longer like put a sign in the yard and it sells, or
Right.
for me, like, here's your rate. Like, we have to have strategies, and we have to educate our clients and let them know it's always a great time to buy real estate.
Right.
It is.
Right.
And I think, but again, we have to share that and be optimistic, positive. So, like I said, I've been in the industry for 19 years, and I experienced, the 2007, 2009, and guess what? I came out all right. And
Right.
so, yes, it's a storm, but we got to face that storm head on.
Right, and that's the thing. I mean, people who miss the boat in buying at 2.5% interest rate or 3%, it's still at 6%. And when we got in business, it was 7%. So it's just setting that new expectation, and that's going to change. And you can always, refinance or do what
The
you
data,
need to do.
the history
So,
shows what goes up must come down.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
again, the 80s, I mean, we were talking 18%, right?
Right.
And so,
Yeah, my dad said the first house they brought me home to, he was at an 18.5% mortgage.
yeah. So if you're watching this, we're here with the president of Allie Beth Allman, Keith, and we're talking positive in real estate. I mean, I think now's the time to get in more than ever, and here's why. Yes, rates have gone up, but guess what? Everybody right now is saying, you know what, I'm going to wait for rates to go down. Well, guess what? Everybody's waiting right now. So now's the time to get in the game, because you're going to be ahead of everybody else. You have better opportunity of negotiating, probably getting a better deal on a home.
Right.
Because when rates go down, guess what? Everybody's back in the game. It's going to be chaos again. I mean, I already see that wave happening.
Right, you're not going to have that feeding frenzy that you had in 2021 or up until I would say June of this year. The competition was the seller got whatever they wanted and 20% over list price. I feel like now list price is going to go on. If it's priced right and it's a great house, they might get a tick above it, but we're finally seeing price reductions, and
Right.
hey, we'll come in at 10% off that price or a little bit less, and they're not going to get to stay in the house for 6 months after they close on it like they were earlier in the year. So, I think you said it right. Like now there's going to be some great buying opportunities.
Oh, I think it's huge right now. And you've heard it. I mean, fall in love with the house, but date the rate, because you can always refinance. And I think we'll be refinancing in 24 months or less.
Yeah.
That's what I'm playing on in Vegas right now. All right, so we could talk real estate all day long, but let's talk about, though, the transition from baseball. You got into real estate. How did you become the president of Allie Beth Allman? Like, where did that happen? And I know the story, but I want you to share it, because I think it's really awesome.
I mean, Allie Beth and I always hit it off. We just had a great connection. She actually knew my grandparents growing up, and my grandparents were friends with her husband's parents back in the day, old church friends. But I didn't know all this until I joined the firm, and we started talking, and then it just became a mentorship thing. I'd go and talk to her, pick her brain. She's a TCU grad. She's on the board of TCU. She's also dyslexic. I'm dyslexic. We just had these, very similar things and just a lot of common ground. But, I feel like I could talk to her as a friend and confide in her. And then in 2014, I thought her systems were a little antiquated and how we got paid and how we delivered on paperwork. And she said, well, what did you have in mind? So I brought her an online transaction platform, helped her launch it. And she said, I'd love for you to think about management. And so we went to lunch at Origin Kitchen on McKinney Avenue, where I'm there like 3 times a week. And I said,
We've had lunch
we
there.
had lunch there too. Yeah, that's a pretty common staple of mine. And she said, I think it'd be great if you got into management, and this is what it would look like. And I could kind of tell something was happening, that she was about to be acquired. And I asked her that, and she said she couldn't talk about it at the time. And then she just said, I would love for you to commit to this. So I did. And, we were acquired by Berkshire Hathaway shortly thereafter.
Right.
And then that was November of 15. And then started doing the sales manager job in 16. The guy that we had agreed, and he had agreed that they thought I'd be a good replacement for him, had to take medical retirement 18 months into that. And to Allie Beth's credit, she could have gone out into our corporate office and hired anybody in the country. They would have wanted that job. And she believed in me. They kept saying he doesn't have the experience. And she said that will come, and she would help, mentor me and groom me. And she thought that would be a great learning experience, and it was. And so I leaned on her heavily. And then in January of 2020, they promoted me to the president of the company. And when COVID happened, I was thinking I'd have the shortest tenure of any president of a real estate company ever. And then who knew, come June, it would be the greatest real estate market ever. So
I love that. So that you defined what this podcast is all about do this. Like you saw something that was outdated, and I see that regularly in businesses because people don't like change.
Correct.
For one.
Right.
And you took the initiative of coming up with a plan. And I'm, in business as leaders, I always have people that, if you come up with an idea, then bring the plan to me, and then we'll talk about it, right? Instead of stop complaining, well then let's solve the problem.
Right, and that's what drives me crazy about my role now is people want to complain, and I get it. There's always things to complain about, but what would you do differently? Like, hey, I don't like this, or I don't like this meeting. And it's like, okay, if you were running a sales meeting, what would that look like, or who would you bring in? So if you come with an issue, you should have a solution. And
Absolutely.
There was no way, and to Allie Beth's credit, she was very open to it, and she said, well, how would you fix it? And it wasn't, hey, I'm going to go take Allie Beth Allman of Allie Beth Allman Associates and say, hey, your systems are antiquated.
Yeah.
I thought you should know that, and I hope you enjoy your lunch. It was like, this is what I've read about. This is what I think is a really good idea, not only from an agent perspective. And I, in my mind, one day I wanted to do my own brokerage is what I thought. I never was envisioning running Allie Beth's brokerage, but it was like if I was going to do my own brokerage one day, this is what I have. And then I was reading about the back end saves you from future legal things. And that's what I pitched her on that. And she's like, this sounds really good. And then once we kind of bring it, she's like, let's get it off the ground. And we were able to do it. And we still use that platform today. And they've made a lot of great changes, but it's made the back office support, the agents happier. It's made things just a lot easier. And it was a pretty smooth transition, all things considered. But I still give Allie Beth a lot of credit for being open to it and not just saying, what do you know? You're just a young guy, just a young agent. You don't know what it takes to do something like that.
I think that's all, and that just shows you the leadership just in Allie Beth Allman. The fact that you're absolutely right. She could have gone and hired the best in the country for that position, and she saw something in you.
Yeah, luckily
Something
she
in
believed
you.
in me.
But
so
everything
I'm always
aligns,
grateful for her,
perfectly. And now I've seen what you've done. Just you've taken it to a whole nother level, and what you guys are doing, because there's a lot of competition, all these different, you got all these online. Trust me, I know in our side.
Right.
And I love how y'all have stick to what Allie Beth is truly about. That luxury boutique style that you have and you've done an outstanding job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, man, this has just been awesome. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? We've talked kind of about real estate. Congratulations on what you've done, and you're just continuing to grow. Is there something that you could say just encouraging to real estate agents out there, or even buyers, or just anybody?
Yeah, I think, for agents who are getting started, I think everyone who gets their license is going to think, hey, I'm going to get started, and my best friend's going to use me, or my family's going to use me, and I know immediately I'm going to have this client. Well, everyone knows an agent, so you can't get discouraged if someone uses somebody else, and it's not as easy as it looks. I think these shows, $1 million agent selling sunset.
Right.
I feel like some agents have it's a bad stereotype anyway, and those shows make it worse, but it's a grind, and it's 24/7, and it's truly 7 days a week, and you're working for yourself as, your own boss, but it's a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of time. I think it takes 3 to 5 years to truly build up a book of business, and then it's 7 to 10 to be, a well-known top producing agent. Some people are more fortunate than that, and there's some agents who will sell a house in their first month, and that doesn't mean they're going to be a top producing agent. And then there's some people that I know are with our company for 11 years who couldn't sell anything in the first 12 or 13 months, and now they're a top producer. So just because you have success early on doesn't mean it's going to sustain, and just because you haven't sold something quickly doesn't mean you're going to be a failure in this business. So it's finding that balance, but it's truly doing something every day to grow your business and staying even keel, because as you said, the ups and downs of the mortgage industry, the real estate market, but just the mental side of the business, you can't get too high and you can't get too low. And save some money, because you're going to have taxes, and I think that's a big issue for agents. They get that first big commission check and they want to spend it,
right?
And they forget that they got to pay tax on it later. So.
Yeah, I love that, because you're being there's no fluff around that, and that's in anything from entrepreneurship, starting a business. You see all the highlights. That's, I think, the problem with social media is you see all the success,
right?
But you don't see all the grind, what it took to get there, and the fact that you're the type of person that I would love to work for, because you're direct, but you know what? We can get you there if you follow this system, or have the mentorship.
Right.
And it's like you've had in your career.
Right. And I Alex Perry is a top producing agent in our office. I'll never forget the first awards banquet I went to at Allie Beth, I just started. It was end of '08, and then in his group, 3-people group, did $4 million in sales. This is a guy who last year in 2021 did $375 million by himself.
Wow.
And he laughs when I tell that story. He's like, I don't even remember that year, but that was one of the hardest years in real estate. And he was a young guy. He was 26 at the time, whatever he was. Could easily said, okay, this isn't for me. We had a tough year, but just kept building his business. And and you talk about one of the hardest workers possibly in the country or in the city, one of the most well-known realtors. But
he's a machine.
Had a down year in a tough market, but just kept grinding it out. And now he has built this incredible group and team, and it's pretty amazing to watch.
So as I would say, he definitely knows how to do this.
No question. He definitely does.
Yeah. Well, guys, hey, thanks for watching another episode of Do This. Stop overthinking, do this. And thank you, Keith. I mean, all the input, I think it's all encouraging. So don't get discouraged. Like he said, starting your own business or getting in real estate, whatever it might be, fight through it, because I promise you, nothing easy is rewarding. Meaning, if you stick with it, the reward will come on the other end. So, hey, again, share this, do this, stop overthinking, and do this. So thanks again. As I always say, let's end it on, hey, go out there and do this.